Don't you dare walk away from this. Look at me." Her voice was flat, lips pressed so tightly the words sliced the silence. "I said look at me." The room crackled. She gripped the folder with both hands, knuckles white, muscles tight. "You want the court to believe those lies? Go ahead and swear it right now." Footsteps scuffed behind her. A cold glare caught the overhead fluorescence as she swung the evidence above the table. "You're going to admit what you did, or I will read every single page." The woman in pearls flinched, cheeks blotching red. A shallow, choking exhale. "We both know you forged every signature." Somewhere to her left, a man's voice trembled. "Don't do this, not here." But she didn't blink. "Try me," she whispered, paper snapping taut against her palm. The judge's gavel poised midair. But to understand how she ended up here, you have to start 42 days before, when all she had was a child, a broken car, and $42 to her name. Metallic Arizona afternoon pressed against the windows of her battered Chevy, the heat warping the horizon outside Kingman limits. Miranda checked her checking account again. $42.47, that was it. $42.47, and her son Wyatt in the back seat, thumb pressed into the frayed waistband of his shorts, dog-eared picture book wilting in his lap. The air inside smelled like French fries and old crayons. Outside, Route 66 shimmered and wind curled dust up over the dashboard. Cardboard boxes crowded the passenger seat, a faded duffel bag wedged underneath. Her life condensed. Miranda kept her phone low, thumb flicking through messages she didn't want Wyatt to read. "How much longer, Mom?" The boy peered up, copper hair sweaty and eyes darkly attentive. "Not far, promise," Miranda lied, running a hand through her own tangled brunette hair. He buried his face in the book again. "It's not gonna be another motel, is it?" "No," she answered, voice steadier than she felt. "We're done with those." She meant it. Last night marked 42 nights in borrowed rooms, rest area parking lots, the back of the car when nothing else could be managed. Her flaw, stitched into the seams of every day, was always pretending things were fine when they weren't. A bead of cold sweat tracked down her spine. Her late mother's funeral had been packed with tight-lipped faces she barely recognized. Her father's new wife, Lorraine Fielding, in tailored black and designer sunglasses, dabbing at dry eyes. Lorraine's practiced hush wrecked every memory Miranda had of her father. "You'll have closure now," Lorraine had offered, her accent slicing every word. "The estate is handled." Those 3 words, the estate is handled. And then the lawyer's call, informing Miranda she was granted sole ownership of a derelict gas station on Route 66. A real fixer-upper, barely worth taxes, Lorraine tossed over her shoulder, her stepdaughter's defeat already assumed. When Miranda arrived, heat shimmering off the turquoise gate, chipped and padlocked, Lorraine's Cadillac waited outside. Lorraine stepped into view, pearls gleaming, arm clutching her own daughter Charlotte, who stared at Miranda with flat disinterest. "So this is your big take, Miranda?" Lorraine sniffed, glossed lips pursed. "At least you'll have somewhere to store your boxes." Charlotte laughed. "Hope you like rats." A man from the developer's office watched from his Tesla, sunglasses hiding his calculation. Lorraine had a contract in hand, her offer on the station months old, but family protocol required a ceremonial handoff. Wyatt pressed close, squeezing Miranda's hand. "Do we have to stay here now?" he whispered. Miranda paused, fingertips grazing the rust-flaked handle. "We're staying tonight, maybe more." She yanked, expecting resistance, but the lock twisted loose. The turquoise door croaked open, and as the heavy scent of oil and mildew flooded outward, Miranda's gaze snagged on something odd. Faint scuff marks around the attic hatch at the back of the convenience shop. A first thread of real possibility spun through her. Someone had pried it loose recently. If you've ever watched someone pass off garbage after pocketing your birthright and wondered if the real rot sat deeper than the paint, don't look away. When Miranda crossed the cracked threshold, the dust of decades eddied in the light. She set her duffel down by the faded oil calendar taped behind the register. Wyatt sidled up, peering at the ratty snack display as if searching for survivors. "Can I see the back?" he asked, voice half hopeful. She nodded, twisting the attic pole loose. Her joints ached from nights sleeping half-sitting, but kneeling now gave her a purpose. "Let's check upstairs together," she said quietly, leading him through the narrow service hallway, each fluorescent panel overhead buzzing against their footsteps. The rear door stood warped, lock-twisted, a dead bug sprawled in the jamb. "Why is everything so old?" Wyatt asked, voice thin. "Because your grandpa didn't believe in fixing what wasn't broken." They both stifled a laugh, memory quick and bitter. The attic hatch was nearly out of reach for Miranda, but Wyatt dragged a milk crate over. "Here," he said, pushing it with both feet. She climbed up, pulled with both hands. The ceiling panel shifted, then popped free, tossing down a whirl of insulation. Years of grit clung to her sleeves. "See anything?" Wyatt squinted. She hesitated, flashlight in her teeth, then angled it inward. A plank, uneven, separated from the others, revealed another layer of insulation packed extra thick. Her heart jumped, she reached in. Something scraped wood, a box's corner jabbing beneath. Miranda tugged, breath tight. It was heavier than she expected, a wooden trunk, every edge stained but the hardware suspiciously new. Wyatt whistled. "Is it treasure?" "It's something," she managed, mind already racing. She lowered it down. The lock, old but still functional, gave way with a solid turn. Inside, bundled bills snapped against her thumb, clean and crisp. Gold coins, heavy, tucked into canvas purses. A velvet pouch spilled jewelry, brooches, cufflinks, ornate bands. Miranda exhaled, heart hammering. A folded packet atop the hoard caught her attention. Legal-sized paper, tied with faded red string. It wasn't just money, it was proof. Miranda slipped the bundle free, the first page handwritten by her father. "For Miranda, if you're reading this, don't trust signatures you haven't seen me write." The trunk's steel interior glinted in the dark, and as Miranda lifted the bundle free, she felt it. The shape of a key taped to its underside. Her knuckles trembled. "This doesn't make sense," she whispered, voice cracking. "Is it okay, Mom?" Wyatt's question cut through, uncertain. She pressed a hand to his back, shaking off the shock. "It is now," she answered, hardly believing herself. Out in the lot, a white Lexus turned in. Lorraine stepped out, lipstick immaculate despite the wind, her eyes hawk-bright behind tortoiseshell frames. She didn't see Miranda's discovery. Not yet. But Miranda knew. Lorraine's story, the developer's presence, the worthless deed, none of it added up unless someone wanted her gone. She shut the trunk, adrenaline sparking. Nothing was settled yet. A pale ribbon of dusk curled behind broken signage as Miranda slid the trunk behind the counter and locked the office door. With Wyatt perched on a milk crate absently spinning a dusty tire gauge, Miranda's thoughts ran circles. The next step couldn't wait. She thumbed through the registry papers tucked with the cash. Most forms were decades old, utility bills addressed to her father, mortgage payoff receipts, stacks of statements stamped paid in full. The most recent, a quitclaim deed signed Gerald Fielding, dated 15 years ago. On the back page in her father's handwriting, Lorraine is not to have claim. All debts paid March 2008. If contested, check signatures and compare. Miranda's breath caught. Her father's script had always looped at the F, distinct, nearly impossible to mimic. But the mortgage liens Lorraine waved around at the funeral, the signatures hadn't matched. Wyatt pointed to a yellowed Polaroid taped inside the trunk lid. Her father, standing arm over her shoulder beside the gas pumps, both mid-laugh. "Do I look like him?" Wyatt asked, curiosity unshielded. "You do," Miranda whispered. The next hook, her father left it all to her, lied about nothing. Lorraine had forged everything since. Time to find someone on her side. The next morning, Miranda and Wyatt found shade under the battered awning of Parker and Finch, attorneys at law, the only brick office in Kingman still open at noon. The buzzer greeted them loud enough to wake someone asleep in the next county. Inside, ally Zach Parker leaned over cluttered files, arched brow raised. Always with knit sweaters even in the heat, Parker's handshake was bone-crushing, but her words rolled like gravel. "Long trip this morning." Miranda nodded. "I need your help fast." Parker motioned to Wyatt. "He can stay, but hands off my paperweight, kid." Wyatt grinned shyly. "Yes, ma'am." Miranda slid the quitclaim deed across. "My father's signature. Compare it with these. Tell me what you see." Parker yanked on reading glasses and tilted the trunk's documents into light. After a scrutinizing sweep, she whistled softly. "Here's the deal, Miranda. This signature," she tapped, "is the real thing. These," she stabbed at Lorraine's liens, "are garbage." "Forgery," Miranda pressed, heart skipping. "Textbook and mortgage paid off too, 15 years back. There's no valid lien. That developer's got no shot unless someone plays dirty." Wyatt pulled his knees up, watching Miranda. "So we keep the station." Parker's face softened. "Legally, yes, if you move fast, but Lorraine's got a pre-sale contract. Closing is this Friday, clock's ticking." Miranda's head spun. "What now?" "You file a contest in probate court with proof. And this is a hell of a lot of money," Parker pointed to the cash envelopes, "so you'll need to explain that source to the judge. Where did it all come from?" "Years of him saving, I guess," Miranda shrugged, still dazed. "He never trusted banks." Parker grunted. "Smart man. Okay, I'll draft the petition. You keep that box out of sight. Watch out for Lorraine. She'll have lawyers faster than I can type your name." Wyatt piped up. "Is Mom in trouble?" Miranda ruffled his hair. "Not if we fix this together." Parker added, "You trust your gut, Miranda. Don't give an inch. Lorraine's slick and people like her hate to lose face in public." Dread pooled at Miranda's feet. The next 2 days would decide their next decade. That night, Miranda perched on the oil-stained tile beneath the flickering neon sign, sleep escaping her. She couldn't risk staying at the gas station. She and Wyatt crashed with Parker's sister 2 blocks away, luggage stacked against the entry. The next morning, as Miranda loaded Wyatt into the backseat, her phone lit up with a withheld number. Lorraine's voice spat through the line. "You're making a mistake. That building was promised. You let go quietly or things get ugly." Miranda didn't answer, just hung up. The day spiraled when Wyatt spotted Lorraine's car outside the station. Charlotte leaned out, smirking. "Heard you're snooping. It's over for you." Inside, their disarray was evident, drawers shuffled, lockers open. Messages written in red pen scrawled, "We know." Wyatt cowered behind her. "Don't let them see you worry," Miranda coached herself, voice clipped. She rushed to Parker's office, the metal trunk wedged beneath her arm. Parker met her at the door, grave. "I've just heard from the judge's clerk. Lorraine's filed a challenge, says you're not his real daughter and that her child is the only Fielding by blood." Miranda fired back, "DNA take mine, take Wyatt's, do it now." Parker nodded. "You're brave, but that means confrontation, court, test, everything public. Are you up for it?" Miranda's hand shook. Only way left. 2 court days was all they'd get. The probate judge set a formal hearing, evidence in hand. The new obstacle, Lorraine was offering to testify under oath. "I've seen that trunk before," Lorraine lied, lips curled. "It's not real. She forged those documents herself." A flood of doubt battered Miranda. Wyatt, tense as piano wire, whispered, "Don't let her win, Mom." She knelt to him, eyes level. "I won't, I promise." But even promises had limits when the other side would burn the truth just to keep the ashes. That night, Miranda pulled apart the trunk inch by inch. Taped to the lid's underedge, she found the second key, identical to one around her father's neck in the old photos, engraved on the back with initials GF4M. Miranda exchanged a glance with Parker. If the key fit the station's antique safe, whatever was inside would end this for good. Lorraine, watching the windows with the developer at her elbow and Charlotte texting furiously at the courthouse steps, didn't see Miranda at dawn, unlocking the dusty safe behind the stockroom's shelf. She braced herself. The steel door groaned open, springing dust. Inside waited neat stacks of cash, bundled hundreds, gold coins in folded canvas, even grandmother's jewelry. Receipts dated back decades, supporting every dollar's origin. "That's not just money," Parker murmured. "That's proof no debts exist. With this, Lorraine can't claim a cent. The field's yours." Wyatt, eyes wide, pressed close to Miranda's side. "We won." "Not yet," she cautioned. Lorraine called for a new round of threats. "Withdraw, or I'll tell the judge you stole it all." Miranda squared her shoulders. "You're scared." Charlotte barked, "You wish this was yours. You're no real Fielding." Miranda reached for the only thing Lorraine couldn't fake, the truth. The day of reckoning arrived. The courthouse, a fortress of marble and bulletproof glass, loomed over them. Miranda entered with Parker and Wyatt. Lorraine led Charlotte, her pearls set against black dress, air perfumed, sickly sweet. "Ready to lose, Miranda," Lorraine whispered, lips barely parted. Miranda answered with calm steel, "You ever seen a liar win at the finish line?" The courtroom felt cold and echoing, judge dry-eyed and precise. Stenographer keys clacked. The developer sat in the rear, bored but watchful. Judge Matthews scanned the room. "Miss Miranda Fielding." Miranda stood, nerves coiled tight. "You allege fraud on the title." "Yes, Your Honor, I have proof." Lorraine's attorney, slick mustache trimmed, objected. "Objection, wild allegations, nothing more." Judge waved it off. "Proceed." Parker handed over the documents. Old deeds, mortgage payoffs, trunk contents, the matching safe receipts, and most damning, the DNA results. Miranda spoke, voice clear. "My father paid every debt. Those signatures on new liens aren't his. This DNA shows Wyatt and me are his only living biological heirs." Lorraine's cheeks flushed, hand tightening on her pearls. Charlotte stiffened. Judge Matthews held up the signatures. "You suggest these were forged?" Miranda nodded. "Yes, sir." The judge motioned Lorraine forward. "Miss Fielding, will you explain how your name, not that of your stepdaughter, ended up on the presale contract and developer's lien notices?" Lorraine faltered. "It was routine. I handled paperwork when Gerald was sick." Miranda snapped, voice trembling. "Routine enough to forge his signature 3 times. The mortgage says paid right here." Lorraine's lips twitched. She forged those. She was desperate. Parker leaned forward. "Your Honor, the forensic analysis." Judge cut her off. "I'll review it. Is there more?" Miranda hesitated, then unlocked the trunk. The evidence poured out: cash, coins, the velvet jewelry pouch, deeds, proof of every step. A stunned hush. The developer dropped his pen. Lorraine paled. "She's tricking you. None of this is real." The judge turned icy. "Do you understand perjury, Miss Fielding?" Lorraine's practiced composure cracked, voice slipping. "I swear it was just so her little boy wouldn't go hungry. Isn't that enough?" Miranda's hands balled on the folder. "Don't you dare walk away from this. Look at me." Her tone was iron-locked. "I said look at me." Lorraine stared down, jaw clenched. "You want the court to believe those lies. Go ahead and swear it right now." The whole room braced for impact. Fluorescent lights flickered overhead. She lifted the evidence, papers rattling as she swung them above the table. "You're going to admit what you did, or I will read every single page." Lorraine winced, chin dropping. "We both know you forged every signature." From the bench, Judge Matthews narrowed his eyes. The developer finally looked ill. A bailiff shifted. Lorraine's attorney, sweaty and shaken, hissed, "Say nothing, don't incriminate." But Miranda pressed, voice low and ice cold, "Try me." The gavel came down, sharp as a gunshot. "Enough, the court is satisfied. All liens fraudulent, sale null. Miss Lorraine Fielding, you are liable for punitive damages and full restitution. Distribution reversed to Miss Miranda Fielding and legal line. Miss Charlotte Fielding's claim is denied, pending further review." Lorraine's eyes widened. "You can't do this, he promised me." The judge barely replied. "You did this to yourself." The developer bolted for the exit, phone pressed to his ear, deal evaporating. Miranda's knees nearly buckled. As the courtroom emptied, Wyatt tugged at her jacket. "Does this mean we get to stay?" She knelt, choking on relief. "Yeah, kiddo, we get a fresh start." In the halls afterward, Lorraine's shame unfolded in whispers. She could only stammer. It was never supposed to end like this. Charlotte stormed past, ignoring her mother's pleading. Judge Matthews directed Parker, "A trust will be established, protected solely for the benefit of Miss Miranda Fielding's heirs, immune from prior claimants." Community rumor did its work. Lorraine, once queen of the local boards and luncheons, vanished from every guest list. The developer's project dissolved, his name replaced with warnings at the local chamber. Miranda was escorted to the station by Parker and Wyatt. There, Wyatt placed his hand on the trunk. "Maybe Grandpa wanted it to be found," he told Miranda softly. She could only nod. He knew what was coming, he trusted us to see it through. The trust fund was set, every dollar protected for Wyatt and his children. Lorraine's attempts to appeal collapsed. The safe returned to quiet, the station basked in morning sun. Weeks later, Miranda fixed the turquoise gate and watched Wyatt pick wildflowers along the edge of the lot. For the first time, she inhaled the Arizona noon as something like hope. Because sometimes it isn't the value of what's hidden that saves you. It's refusing to let someone else write your ending, no matter how far they bend the truth. If you've ever stood alone with almost nothing and held the line anyway, let this be the moment you remember. The most fragile thread, held tight enough, can outlast any chain. And in the dust-choked stillness of an old station, a mother's stubborn love started something new. The sun slanted low through wavy window glass, streaking the station walls in gold and dust. Miranda perched on the rickety office stool, legs angled toward the doorway, eyes distant as she waited for quiet to settle again. For once, it did, and it stayed. Across the counter, Wyatt sorted stacks of old postcards from a cardboard shoebox. "Guess we're open for business now?" he asked, voice lighter than she'd heard in weeks. She smiled, clearing her throat of its accustomed worry. "Maybe not for gas just yet, but snacks for sure. Think anyone would buy a melted Butterfinger?" She held up a likely casualty. Wyatt grinned. "Not if you tell them. I do a soda, though." He looked at the fridge, which hummed valiantly for the first time since they'd plugged it in. "It's colder in there than Mom's feet at night." She laughed, fuller than she meant. "Smart mouth," she said, ruffling his hair. He ducked away, still smiling. Outside, the battered sign hung at a cocky angle. Beyond the pumps, Kingman baked beneath a sky so vast it made every sorrow look small. Miranda stepped out to breathe it in, hands planted on her hips. Parker's battered Camry crunched over the gravel. She emerged, waving a sheaf of paperwork overhead. "It's official," she called, her sweater sleeves doubled against the morning chill. "Judge signed the final order. Nobody can touch you now, not even Lorraine, not her developer, not some oil company with a hankering for asphalt." Miranda blinked, momentarily unsure whether to laugh or weep. Instead, she walked straight over and hugged Parker, hard enough to draw a surprised oof from her. "Thank you," Miranda whispered, voice catching. "Don't make a habit of public gratitude. Folks might talk," Parker said, but her stern face cracked into something gentler. Wyatt bounded over. "Miss Parker, you want a soda? I think we have some real ones now." Parker nodded. "Only if you promise not to charge me $2 for something flat." He scampered inside. As the screen door clattered behind him, Miranda leaned against the hot fender of her Chevy. "I keep thinking Lorraine's going to come roaring up for one last battle." Parker tucked a page into Miranda's hand. "Not likely." She settled the damages quietly. Her lawyers dropped her once the court started sniffing around her other paperwork. "I wouldn't be surprised if she lit out for Flagstaff. Anyway, her days of running this town are over." Miranda exhaled, shoulders softening for the first time in months. I was so sure she'd win. People like her, they always lose in the end, Parker cut in. Not every time, but sometimes if somebody fights back. Miranda chewed her lip, gaze tracing the dust clouds where the highway shimmered. We have enough now. Even after the taxes, even fixing up this place, Wyatt's set, and she trailed off, emotions knocking around her ribs. Parker straightened, surveying the sunlit lot. Well, what are you going to do now? Miranda hesitated. Beyond the pumps, the sign that once read Fielding's Gas since 1965 had faded to pale blue, the letters nearly ghosts. I want to make it mean something again, she said softly. Not just a memory, not just a fight to keep what's ours, but somewhere honest and solid. Maybe a store, maybe a real cafe. A place people can trust, where nobody needs to look over their shoulder for someone like Lorraine. Parker grinned. Paint the sign, start there. I will, Miranda promised. Inside, Wyatt had stacked sodas and was sketching signs on scrap cardboard. Soft drinks, ice cold. Grand reopening, and for reasons of his own, no LIARSALLOWED. Miranda peered over his shoulder. That's a bit much for the front door, don't you think? He shrugged, brown eyes dancing. Grandpa would have liked it. She ruffled his hair again, unable to help herself. Maybe we can put it in the back window, just in case a few people need reminding. Like Charlotte, Wyatt asked. The name didn't sting anymore, it felt distant, barely a shadow. Maybe, Miranda conceded. She plucked a pencil from behind his ear and started another sign. This one simply read, Welcome. For the first time in longer than she could remember, she let herself feel rooted. Each box they unpacked, each window they cleaned, every act rewrote the story Lorraine had tried to overwrite with false signatures and cold smiles. A week later, the station's turquoise gate freshly painted, Miranda stood with Wyatt by the edge of the lot. Sunflowers leaned into the chain link, defiant against the sun. In the distance, a truck slowed, then turned in. The driver was an elderly man, ball cap perched on thinning hair and an easy grin sliding onto his face as he stepped from his pickup. Heard a rumor you folks were open. Been hoping there'd be a third act for this old place. Miranda smiled, recognizing the man as Mr. Carver, who ran the local hardware shop. We're not all the way open, but we'll get you a Coke, if nothing else. He took her hand hearty. Feels better already. Inside, Parker had left a battered typewriter atop a box of her father's old ledgers, along with a note. For the next chapter, don't forget to write it yourself. Miranda's fingers lingered on the keys, old metal but reliable. As dusk settled, she typed out a letter. Dear Wyatt, one day you'll want to know how we got here. The real story, not the one Lorraine tells in whispers, but the one where a stubborn mother and her wild-hearted son started over and made something honest out of what was left behind. Today we have more than money in a trunk. We have proof that truth, stubborn, plain, and hard as desert stone, outlasts lies every single time. She paused, looking up as Wyatt carried dog-eared books to the front counter, a character out of a life she'd finally claimed. From the road, headlights cut the gathering dark, then faded. There was peace in the emptiness. Miranda imagined her father somewhere on a red clay horizon, smiling at how she'd fought for this patch of earth. Wyatt returned to her side, hand small but fierce as it enveloped hers. Mom, are we safe now? She squeezed back, words soft. We're safe, and I'm not going anywhere, promise. He rested his head against her. For a moment, the world felt unbroken. Night crept over the station, neon flickered steady in the window, and for the first time, Miranda let herself believe in the dawn. 2 days later, a package arrived unmarked, slid under the turquoise gate. Inside was an old photograph, Miranda as a child standing on her father's shoes, halfway through a clumsy waltz, both beaming. On the back, a scrawl she knew by heart. Remember, it's always yours if you fight for it. Dad. She held the photo close, eyes bright. The fight was over. What was left belonged to her, to Wyatt, and to anyone who came for honesty, a cold Coke, or the comfort of a story finished the right way. When dawn broke again over Route 66, the light caught newly painted letters: Fielding Station, ESD, 1965 and rebuilt 2024. Miranda stood in the doorway as Wyatt opened the first cold soda, and together, with the desert behind them and possibility in the air, they stepped firmly into their next beginning. The station creaked in the gentle hush of early morning. Miranda brewed a pot of burnt-smelling coffee, sunbeams glinting off the jewel-colored glass in her mother's old lamp. Wyatt sat cross-legged on the counter, turning a screw into a half-fixed radio with exaggerated care. "Think it'll work?" he asked. She bent over, hands around her mug. "If it doesn't, we'll take it apart again." He grinned, content. The hum of summer cicadas drifted through the patched windows. A battered sedan rolled in and parked by the air pump. A teenage girl, Charlotte, Miranda realized, face drawn and uncertain, got out, backpack slung loose. Miranda tensed, but Wyatt bounded forward. "You want a soda?" he called. "We've got two kinds." Charlotte hesitated, shielding her eyes. "I'm not here to make trouble, I just—" She looked to Miranda. "Mom left, renounced everything, said it was all lies. I'm staying with an aunt, but I wanted to say I'm sorry." Miranda inhaled. She saw not a rival, but a kid shaken by consequences she'd never earned. "You didn't know," she said quietly. "We all believed lies because we had to. That's over now." Charlotte nodded, wiping her eyes. "Your dad, he took pictures of me too when I was little. He wasn't cruel." She swallowed, jaw tremulous. "Will you tell people I'm not like her?" Wyatt's voice was clear. "You can help paint the sign if you want," he offered. "Only rule is you have to be honest." Silence stretched, then Charlotte managed a watery smile. "Deal." Inside, the three of them dug out boxes of hardening paint, clattered brushes into old jars. Miranda watched them from the doorway, Wyatt and Charlotte bickering over colors, working side by side in easy peace. As the sun climbed high and customers trickled in, neighbors dropped by Mr. Carver for a coffee, two kids for popsicles, a woman with a lost cat flyer. Each encounter stitched something back together: trust, possibility, a feeling that this place was needed. The lies Lorraine spun shriveled with every honest transaction, every warm laugh. By afternoon, the blue paint on the sign gleamed fresh. Over the front window, Wyatt's second sign had been tacked up, not "No LIARSALLOWED," but "All stories welcome." Miranda traced the letters, heart swelling. As dusk fell one more time, Miranda stood outside and watched headlights sweep gold over cracked pavement. Wyatt and Charlotte cleaned up inside, their voices rising with invention and laughter. Parker drove by, horn blipping twice. Miranda waved, contentment fizzy in her chest. Wyatt burst to the door, cheeks flushed, holding up a tangled radio. "Mom, it works." Music fizzed to life, grainy, hopeful, a scratchy old tune her father used to play on slow summer days. It rode out over the pumps and sunflower-cracked fence posts into the bluing desert. Miranda smiled up at the sky, then back at the life she'd fought for, imperfect, battered, real. Behind her, Wyatt and Charlotte sang the chorus, voices brave and eager. The world could say what it wanted. Fielding Station would endure, honest in the open sun, the truth written into every new beginning. And Miranda, rooted at last, knew this was home.